Oh, yeah, ooh, creepy, yeah. Good, yeah. Welcome back to Arkham Week. So, today we're looking at Batman Arkham Reborn. Now, this was a story that came out around when it takes place right after the events of Battle for the Cowl, where in there Arkham Asylum was blown up by the Black Mask. And this is a story of the Asylum's head guy, Jeremiah Arkham, who of course is a descendant from Amadeus Arkham, and how he tries to run this place and is plagued with problems, and just his time controlling the asylum, or more or less trying to keep control of the asylum. So this story it's take on Arkham is different than most stories, because when we think of Arkham, our minds usually go to the shot from the Batman the Animated Series with the Arkham Asylum sign and lightning going over it, because that's our Arkham, creepy, dark, and twisted. And this story does get there, but it starts out after the destruction of the asylum. It starts out with Amadeus Arkham. Whoops, I said Amadeus Arkham. I meant Jeremiah Arkham. My mistake. Showing the guys the new asylum that he has rebuilt, and everything's nice and pretty. It's all white, and they're going to the different asylum, the rooms of the asylum, and some of the criminals are still spouting off, but the facilities stuff is like top notch, and the inmates aren't really hating Arkham. I mean, they're okay with it. Not that they'd like to be there. Of course, they'd rather be running around free, but they don't really hate Arkham right now. However, there's an underlying plot with the Black Mask, who is going out of his way to attack the asylum. We don't really know why. Well, okay, let me just say, this was around the time when the identity of the new Black Mask was missing. We didn't know who it was when the first few issues came out. So, we didn't know who Black Mask was. So, and if you still don't know and you kind of want to find out, you would have to read Batman Life After Death. This is where you find out who Black Mask is, if you don't know. But if you do know, just spoilers warnings, because I'm going to give it away. And it's kind of one thing I kind of do need to say, because it's one thing I want to talk about with this book. It turns out that Jeremiah Arkham is Black Mask, right? The guy who's running the asylum is Black Mask, and he's kind of also sabotaging the asylum. This is kind of the only big problem that I kind of have with this book, is because, like, in Batman Life After Death, which I might review sometime, but that would be well after Arkham Week, you kind of get the feeling that Jeremiah Arkham knows that he turns into Black Mask, but he doesn't really want to. Like, there's a point where he's like, no, I won't do it, and someone threatens him, and then he turns into Black Mask. In here, he doesn't know. It seems like in here he doesn't know that he's turning into Black Mask and sabotaging himself. And also, because I read, one thing is, I read this before I read this. So I'm just reading through the book, right? and seeing Jeremiah Arkham going on this weird ride, and this new Arkham let's just say the sabotages that happens are really creative. Like some food that Clayface eats starts like destroying his metabolism or something, and he starts getting really sick. And Mr. Freeze's chambers start heating up. Killer Croc's chambers fills with water all the way to the top, which reminds me of a new mistake in that Arkham City Madness. Okay, I must really want to get over to Arkham City, because I said Arkham City Madness. I was talking about Arkham Asylum Madness. My mistake again. Killer Croc only had a entire water cell in there, but because Crocs can't actually breathe underwater. But there's this new character, Alice Sinner, and she's this weird, crazy woman whose emotions like are run by the things in her hair. She'll just grab one of these things out of her hair and look at it, and it will read something, and then she kind of like acts that way. I don't know. That's a little confusing, because it's like, does she know she wants to act that way, so she pulls it out, or is it just random? Just like, could she be in a fight where like, I will give you a pony, happy? Yeah, no, I don't know. I think her thing is the 7 deadly sins, so I don't think happiness would be in there. But anywho, that is weird. Continue on with it. Focus. Anyway, but other stuff's happening. One of the main things is this psycho known as the Raggedy Man, who actually starts showing progress and starts showing promise that Jeremiah Arkham could, rehabilitate. He starts showing progress. It turns out that he isn't. Well, something happens, and basically, like, he ends up inside, like, the walls of the asylum in this weird maze, and then these horrible things happen. This voice comes out and puts him back in his nightmare scenario from when he was a kid. Because when he was a kid, his mother would lock him in a cellar with these peaches cans and a can opener, saying, feed yourself, And he ends up in this place that's the exact same replica of his home, this guy's home. So this kid's going insane. And then he sees the can opener on the end of this tunnel. So he goes through it, and then there's these bugs that get in and start burrowing inside of him, and he tries to cut him out with the can opener. And yeah, he dies. Spoiler, sorry. It's just, that's one of the best parts. It's really intense and really horrible. You're like, oh my gosh, that's bad. Mean. Bad man. But what was that going on? Oh, I lost my train of thought. I guess what I was kind of talking about Black Mask, but a little bit. I kind of lost my train of thought there, but whatever. So Black Mask. One of my problems is like, you go from him in this weird situation, and then you literally turn to the next page, and he's locked away for being Black Mask. I was like, oh, okay. Wait, what? I was like, wait, no, he's not Black Mask. Why would he be Black Mask? Huh? The story isn't that big, so I could almost see it being part of this. It would make it, of course, a bigger book, and it probably wouldn't line up as story well, because I realize why they put it on its own. But, it's weird that we just turn the page, and then we find out that he's Black Mask. Because guys like me, I didn't know that. It was surprising. Okay? Anywho, this is all mostly told from Jeremiah Arkham's perspective and Alice Sinner's perspective, who they both end up doing really weird things. Like, as I said, what he does with that Raggedy Man guy, and he starts. And there's these 3 other characters that I won't spoil. Well, I'll say the characters, but I won't spoil what's with them. And I dropped something. That Jeremiah calls his beauties. There's these 3 characters. One of them is a boy, not a boy, but a man who, as a boy, put a mask on his face and glued it to his face, and his father ended up ripping the mask off and taking all the muscles out so his face has no emotions. There's this other guy who can't stop looking at himself in a mirror, and there's this woman called the Hamburger Lady, which is a really weird name, that people say that if you looked at her you go insane. This entire book, it's hard to... It's not hard to get into it because it is really interesting, and psychologically you're wondering, wow, what is going on? Why are all these things happening? But it's hard to get into because you're like, well, what is the overarching tale here? And it's really just a man trying to kind of just hang on to his sanity while he doesn't even know that he's already lost it, almost. It's a pretty good Arkham Asylum tale, and I guess I should talk about the art. The art's pretty good. I think there was 2 or maybe 3 artists on this thing, so it changes a few times, but its overall look is really interesting and really well done. I think this story is mostly good for to read through maybe a couple times. You know, it's not one that you read over and over and over again, but it's something that it's really interesting to experience. That's the mystery part of it, where you're wondering what's happening. Why is he Black Mask doing all this stuff? That was really what kept me into it when I first read it. I read it because I like the interesting things that happen here, the events. There isn't a whole lot of underlining story or messages or whatever, but it's still hiccups here. But it's still a really Arkham Reborn is still a really good Arkham book, much better than, well, Madness, but you know, of course, not as good as Arkham Asylum, the graphic novel. But you know, it's if you want to get some stuff more into Arkham Asylum, you know, this would be a nice book to read. It's pretty good. The art, as I say, is good. It does have Batman isn't the main focus in here, but he is in here quite a bit, actually. So, it's pretty good. Overall, I think this is just a really good book, period. So, yeah. That's about all. It helps you get to know more about Arkham Asylum and some of the staff members of Arkham. Like Aaron Cash gets to do some more stuff. You might remember him from the video game Arkham Asylum, and you know, just overall, it was a good story. So I guess I don't have too much else to talk about. What can I say? It's just a pretty good book. So I'm gonna give Arkham Reborn 6.5 out of 10. It's a pretty good book, and if you're really into Batman or into Arkham Asylum, it'd be okay to pick up. If you're not as much into Batman, or maybe you can leave it alone. This is something more for Batman fans, because if you're not into Batman that much, it wouldn't be that much of a thing, or you just might not be as interested. For those, like for Arkham Asylum, the graphic novel, I recommend that to everybody, whether you're a Batman fan or not. Great comic book to read. This, I would say, is just more mainly for the Batman fans, to dive into Arkham Asylum and see some characters that we know and love, and to really get a nice psychological crazy tale again about Arkham. So, thanks for watching, guys. Remember, I'm LaserDude99, and if I don't like it, it's not worth it. See you around. Make sure you stick around for the end of Arkham Week, where I get into Arkham City. This ain't no place for no hero. This ain't no place for no hero. This ain't no place for no hero. Go home. I am home.
Be sure to check out more of my other videos on my channel, and wait for more